Hello everyone and welcome to 4Panel, your weekly guide to the weird and wild world of comics. I'm your host Andrew, and as per usual I'm joined by my co-hosts Rob.
Hello.
And Mick.
Hello.
So, how are we all doing today?
Well, still breathing.
Lots of brick dust and possibly some asbestos. That's what I was breathing in this week.
Oh, well, it's okay, Rob, because if I want to, I can save you. Because we've been talking about Birds of Prey this week.
We're not talking about the movie.
No, not the good Birds of Prey. We have been watching to kind of... Is celebrate the wrong... I think celebrate is entirely the wrong word. To commemorate the release of the movie, we've decided to watch and review the 2002 Birds of Prey television series as part of our little comic movie club, which has so far only talked about TV shows.
Yes, because that's how we roll. Defy expectations.
Exactly.
So, who's going to lead us on this interesting...
I can tee us up, I guess. So, yeah, this is the 2002 TV series based on the comics created by, and you'll like this, a man named Jordan Gorfinkel.
I mean, it's got comic book name. It's got comic book gold written all over it, hasn't it, that name?
Yes.
It is, I'd say.
Also, a Bond movie.
God, he does sound like a Bond movie.
Gorfinkel.
Yeah, that's, when you said that, that was what was going in my head.
So anyway, we've been watching the series. Specifically, we were going to just cover the first 3 episodes, but you madmen went and watched the whole thing.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we kick off with, how does it start, Mick?
My name is Alfred Pennyworth.
It does. It's so cheery.
See, once upon a time, there was a brave knight who looked after the city of Gotham and kept it safe from evildoers, along with the love of his life, Catwoman, the queen of Gotham's criminal underworld.
Oh my God, you've genuinely memorised this entire opening monologue, haven't you?
They left behind them a legacy, who was a kind of half-meta-human thing in leather pants.
Which half?
Well, the pants were on the bottom half, obviously.
I mean, which half was meta-human?
The eyes, mainly.
Also, I'd like to put it, given some of the outfits Huntress wears in this series, I'm not entirely sure the pants are always just on the bottom.
We'll get to that.
So yeah, it is new Gotham City, which is different to old Gotham City, I guess. Batman, never heard of him. He's gonzo. In his place is now Barbara Gordon, his former protege Batgirl.
And also regional Belinda Carlisle lookalike finalist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, she does, doesn't she? So she is now retired from active crime fighting after the Joker shot her in the spine, leaving her in a wheelchair. She is now operating as Oracle, and joining her is Huntress, Helena Kyle, the daughter of Batman and Catwoman, which is the legacy that, again, very cheery Alfred mentioned.
Indeed.
He's so happy about Catwoman getting murdered.
And let's just be clear that although he does the introduction, this is their story.
Yeah, and it's nice of him to point that out, isn't it? Well, like he does that after name-dropping himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are fighting crime in New Gotham City, and they are joined by a young runaway named Dinah.
Yes, which I suppose when they were filming wasn't confusing at all, since Oracle, the actress's real name, is Dinah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must
They probably
have been
just
weird.
called her Belinda on set, though.
Probably. But no, you got it wrong. They weren't just fighting crime; they were sexily fighting crime. Because of all the slow motion shots.
Well,
and
to be fair,
the outfits.
To be fair, Huntress was sexually fighting crime.
Yes.
Dinah was angrily fighting crime.
Yes.
I'd word poutily, I would say.
Sulkily.
Yeah.
Sulkily fighting crime.
Dinah was just there.
Apart from one...
Which Dinah? Which Dinah are we talking?
and apart from one clumsily filmed episode, Barbara was just sitting in the watchtower, watching.
Oh, yes. Is that the bit where she pulls out a nightstick and starts just flailing about
Yeah.
No, there's the one where she actually manages to get out of the wheelchair and don the Batgirl costume again
Yeah.
for a minute.
I'm glad I only watched 3 episodes of this. Although, to be fair, I did see the flashback of Barbara as Batgirl fighting crime. And by fighting crime, I mean just pirouetting down a horrid corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah, she don't do that in the episode where she puts the Bat costume on.
Oh, does she not do the thing where she grabs a cape and just spins and spins and spins and spins?
No.
No, but we'll talk about the final episode in a bit because I'm sure Andrew hasn't watched it. But I think Birds of Prey needs a new name. It should be called Don't Trust Your Therapist.
I think before we sort of launch into a full-on sort of review of Birds of Prey, we should have a look at some of the pros from Birds of Prey. Because there are some.
Okay.
Right. First of all, it's the breakthrough performance for Rachel Scarston,
Okay.
who is currently knocking it out of the park as Alice in Batwoman.
Yes. Yes, she is.
Okay? And she's done loads of genre TV in between.
Yeah.
So, that's one pro. Another pro, there is a kind of adherence to the comic source material.
A kind of.
I get.
Kind of.
Yes, some of
The
Oracle, I think,
Oracle's
is very
disability
comics
thing. And,
I mean, obviously.
Well, and just the fact that she works from the clock tower
yeah.
is the mission command for the Birds of Prey.
And they've not shied away from the fact that she's Commissioner Gordon's daughter and all
Yeah,
the rest of it.
they haven't done what the movies did.
They do run those parallels.
Yeah, they haven't turned Batgirl into Alfred's niece, was she, in the movies?
Yeah, yeah.
Although, fun fact about the movies, so the Batgirl costume in this is actually Alicia Silverstone's Batman and Robin costume,
Yeah.
just repainted to look like the original Barbara Gordon one.
And it looks so much better as the original Barbara Gordon costume.
Yeah, I feel it's weird that a lot of the costumes in the flashback actually look quite good because they're just the Burtonverse ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think wasn't this originally supposed to be a spin-off of the Tim Burton Batman movies?
Yeah.
That's right. And I don't know what caused it to not be, whether there was a rights issue or something like that.
Or maybe they just saw an episode of it.
But the flashback clips of Batman and Joker were supposed to be Keaton and Nicholson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Catwoman flashbacks were supposed to be Pfeiffer. And it's quite clearly Pfeiffer's costume.
Yeah, because it's all stitched together.
But also played by a woman with a massive ponytail coming out the back, which looks really weird.
Yeah. And I think...
Oh, also, what was cool, though, is that in the flashback, the Joker, he's just some dude, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the voice is Mark Hamill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is pretty rad.
And the line he delivers when he shoots Barbara Gordon is the line from The Killing Joke.
Yeah. Actually, it's weird that some parts are that bang on the comics,
Yeah.
Yeah.
given some of the other things in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, whilst we're on the subject of pros, I think what you can see is it's clearly not had the budget showered upon it that later comic book adaptations have had.
Yeah.
I mean, New Gotham is basically just stored in a render farm somewhere
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
and
I mean,
has
it-
4 locations.
Also, is it just me? Or is there, with each episode, exponentially more CGI pan shots of New Gotham City?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's at least 5 more with each episode I watched.
See, you call it CGI. You forgot the word bad.
Well, I don't think you can. I don't think you can level that criticism. It's old CGI. It's bad to our eyes now.
Yeah,
I
it
think
does
in
not look good
2002,
because it's from 2002.
and you'll be watching it on a modern TV where it's upscaled. You can't do that.
Okay, fair point.
But I think where it falls down is in it's trying to jump onto a bandwagon.
Yeah.
In that, at the time, you still had Buffy in full floor. There was, lots of shows about hot chicks fighting bad guys using martial arts and wire work.
Yeah, because I think that's actually something I found really interesting about the show. Is that first of all, you watch it, and a lot of it you can actually see where things like the Arrowverse have built off of it.
That's exactly it. It lays the foundations for what we're now enjoying and the success that the Arrowverse is enjoying.
Yeah.
You've got the arc plot with a slightly reworked version of Harley Quinn.
Mia Sara.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise, because I forgot it was Mia Sara who plays the role of Harley Quinzel. And when I went back to watch it, I was like, oh, that's what's her face from that Tom Cruise movie with the guy with Tim Curry and big horns.
From the Tom Cruise movie.
With Tim Curry
From a
and big
movie that is not Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Rob. You get out of here right now. And also Mix, I'm pretty sure you don't like Ferris
Also
Bueller's
the
Day
inference that Tom Cruise has only ever made one movie.
Yeah, he has. It's called Legend. After that, everything was just imaginary. You all dreamed it.
Have you had a tablet today, Rob?
No.
So I think possibly what Greg Berlanti has done is seen Birds of Prey and gone, someone's given me some budget. I can do this better.
Yeah, it's like Arrow is the show that Birds of Prey wanted to be, pretty much.
Yeah. Especially the later episodes where you've got Mia and the Canaries and all the rest of it. There's a lot of Birds of Prey sort of channeled in that, I think.
Yeah, I mean...
What else is the other part? It's also interesting to see like what things from that time have very clearly influenced it. Because this is also very, very, so much wants to be a Matrix thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like just the way that Huntress is wearing like a long black trench coat and she's just doing all these like spins and flips and sometimes it goes slow motion and there's so much techno music just go.
Oh no, not just the techno, but the new metal and soundtrack as well.
Oh my god!
And sometimes there's a VR bit.
Yeah.
Or a dream bit that looks like a VR bit because of all the CGI.
I mentioned this to you guys downstairs. There's so many shots of her just kind of doing a flip and then landing in that superhero pose with one arm out and then, the long coat just flapping away, and then doing the 90s hair flick or the late 90s hair flick and just looking at people or looking at the camera moodily.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she is Batman's daughter.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was straight
if she's going to do anything, it's going to be brutally.
That was straight out of Buffy and Angel and other shows like that as well.
And that's it. It's a product of its time. So I think yes, to our modern eyes, and dare I say more looking at you two, I daren't say more sophisticated, more sophisticated eyes. It's flawed. It's badly flawed.
Yeah.
It's not a great series. But it's got potential. And it's not actually not enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's just the dialogue's a bit cheesy.
Well,
the plots are a bit thin.
Very.
But the arc plot with Harley is quite well...
Dr. Harleen Quinzel, shall we call her?
Yeah. We'll get to that. One of the biggest departures from the comic books was the character of Helena Kyle being Batman and Huntress being Batman and Catwoman's daughter.
Well, continuity point 1.0.
Okay.
So, actually, that is who Huntress is. The original Huntress, who was on Earth 2 and like part of the Justice Society of America.
Yeah.
She was Batman and Catwoman's daughter. But the version of the Huntress we're mostly more familiar with is called Helena Bertinelli.
Yeah.
And she was like a retooling of the character. Basically, once the various multiverses merged.
Ah, right. I was not aware of that.
Yes. So, in theory, they're basically like taking that original version of Huntress, making her a bit more like the modern version, who's kind of like the sassy take no prisoners. Yeah. And also making her half a cat.
So can I ask a question? Let's call it continuity point 1.1.
Yeah.
It's like a sub point, if you will.
Yeah.
So Helena is the daughter of Batman, who is a man.
Which Helena?
The one in the series.
Okay, Helena Kyle.
Helena Kyle is the daughter of Batman.
Yeah.
Who is all human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Selena Kyle, Catwoman, who is all human and not a metahuman. But Helena is somehow half metahuman.
Can I Point of order is one
It doesn't make sense,
One
does
point, whatever we're on now. How can you be half a metahuman?
I don't know.
You either are or you aren't. No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like how do you dig half a hole?
Well,
you don't. You just dig a hole.
Well, no, because if technically speaking, if the Flash and Iris have a child, then one parent is metahuman, one parent isn't. So
Yeah, but
in much the same way as you're half Chinese, half English. If you've got a Chinese, and
yeah,
an
but
English.
that would be mixed race. We wouldn't say half. But the thing is, you either are a metahuman or you aren't. It's basically the DC version of
But
mutants.
my question is, where does she get the metahuman bit?
Well, actually, I might be able to answer that because in the Tim Burton version of Batman, Catwoman, if there were some things about the whole idea of Catwoman in Batman Returns, because when she gets pushed off that thing and then lands on the floor and then there's all the cats and stuff like that. Apparently that was when the metahuman gene or whatever became active, and so she got the abilities of a cat that way. So technically, if this is
When
based
was that
on
mentioned in the film?
Yeah,
It's not mentioned in
I
the
think
film.
it's the implication in the show is that Catwoman had superpowers.
Yeah.
And that's why she can, do flips and shit.
yeah, basically because
I hope there's a comma in there somewhere.
I don't think the comma makes it any better anywhere.
It's a messy night in New Gotham tonight.
It's fine. She knows how to use a litter box.
Not if you flip. It would have to be some kind of harness.
That's why it's a superpower, Mick. It's like, you know how cats always land on their feet?
yeah. But that was basically because it wasn't stated so much in the movie, but it was speculation that was raised, and Tim Burton
By whom?
By fans, by watchers of the Batman Returns.
Yeah, we don't
movie.
listen to that.
And then Tim Burton didn't confirm it, but said, you can think what you want. I'm not going to confirm it or deny it. But there is a suggestion there in the movie that she does gain superpowers because of that trauma. Because if you look at how she was beforehand, she was just a secretary, no exercise, no real skills, nothing like that. Just kept a load of cats, crazy cat lady type person. But then afterwards, she's like jumping off roofs
I
and
thought she
swinging
only
around.
had one cat, didn't she, at first?
Look, I know I'm like the comic book expert. I do not remember how many cats Selina Kyle had in the film Batman Returns.
But that's
I know, it's a great disappointment.
You're fired.
Oh, no. Oh, the tables have turned.
But that
I feel so emancipated. It's
that's
fantabulous.
basic. It's not confirmed, but there is the suggestion there that she is a metahuman in the Tim Burton movies, in Batman Returns, anyway, because of that sharp transition from what she was and what she became.
That's the kind of confirmation I get from Wikipedia.
Well,
Basically, what happened is the X-Men film came out. It was very popular. The makers of Birds of Prey said, we should do that.
metahumans were a thing in DC by that point anyway, because you had characters like Steel, who suddenly became metahuman, even though originally he basically designed armor for Reign of the Supermen. And
I think you're thinking of the other Steel.
Oh, God.
no, I'm thinking of John Henry Irons, that Steel.
Yeah, he did get past, but that was quite a bit later.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's how it ended up with him. But originally, he did just design that suit of armor like an Iron Man thing with a big hammer.
So, Birds of Prey.
It's just, I don't like it.
Have you noticed how we're talking about other things than Birds of Prey?
What? No, you are. We're talking about related things. You're the one who went off on Steel. I mean Steel.
No, I mean metahumans.
Yeah.
It was DC's version of mutants.
It's just, I feel like there's some bits I quite like when it's like the three of them and they're just hanging out in the clock tower and having a bit of back and forth.
I think
Yeah.
one thing that does ruin it for me, and I think...
Is it
it's
the bad acting, the badly shot action, the nonsensical plots?
In fairness, that's just genre TV up to a certain point in time, really.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm coming, having lived in the golden age of genre television, I'm now coming back to this a spoiled child,
Yeah.
filled with my delicious cakes and sweets.
But I think Birds of Prey, it seems confused as to what it is, to a certain degree.
Yeah,
Because
I feel like there are bits where it kind of wants to be like, oh, we're like the dark and gritty, this ain't your daddy's Batman anymore.
Yeah. And then there's
like suddenly Dinah's wearing big goofy goggles that are like doing green lasers.
And then you've got the bits that are a bit Beverly Hills 90210 with the detective and the potential love interest, which is just there's so little chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, I do.
But they have to stare moodily at each other because apparently that was romance at the time.
Well, yeah. Well,
do you know what I do appreciate about that romance, though? Is that it takes away screen time from Barbara Gordon and her incredibly boring boyfriend.
Well, there is that, yeah.
Whose name I think is just Bland.
Wasn't it?
Wade Bland.
Wade Bland, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. It's just basically, you know, like in Peanuts, whenever the adults are talking.
Yeah.
It's like that for me whenever he comes in the room. It's just he opens his mouth and just...
Well, to be fair, that's probably better than the script he's actually delivering. Because again, it's a bit sort of teenage soapy romance stuff.
But I mean, it was designed to appeal to that audience, to the Buffy and Angel audience.
But then I think it tries to do it in a way that Buffy and Angel didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, in Buffy and Angel, the relationships feel real, whereas these feel like contrived.
Yeah. It's because there's no substance to them. There's no history to them. There's no foundation for them.
I think part of the problem is because these days you are more likely if you're going in on the back of an established franchise, you are more likely to get more than one season.
Yeah.
So you don't feel the need to crowbar everything into that first season. Whereas I think when Birds of Prey came out, you probably did. You needed to crowbar as much in because you might not even get past episode 4, let alone a full season.
Yeah, although you say that, actually, apparently the series did get cancelled halfway through.
Yeah.
But then they just let them make the final episode to wrap things up.
Yeah. But they do this weird thing in America, don't they, whereas a full series is classed as like 26 episodes, but they'll order half a series and then order the back half based on how the first few episodes go.
So is that why they have like mid-season breaks then?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So that they can finish making the rest of the series.
I thought it was weird that they just had like this random pause for a few weeks halfway through the series.
And it's a random length pause as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can,
But, yeah,
you'll see like a number of weeks.
You'll sometimes see on Hollywood Reporter stories about Warner Brothers have ordered a back nine for such and such.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. They thought, all right, it has taken off as well as we thought it might, so we'll get the rest in. Sometimes they sort of got it written in as a clause in a contract, you know, with a potential for another. But it's why sometimes you'll see 2 seasons of something in the same year.
Yeah. I mean, if they've got complete faith in it, then in a particular title, then they'll basically just order the series outright and you'll have the full show straight away. In which case, you can actually plan things, you can structure things better. But I think with Birds of Prey, the thing is, Birds of Prey, even at the time, was still a very, very niche title in comic books. If someone had come forward and said, we want to do a TV show about Flash and the Green Lantern as like a buddy cop thing, I think people would have gone for it a lot more, because even if they had to throw a bit of extra cash at it, because Flash and Green Lantern are 2 mainstream characters, whereas in Birds of Prey you've basically got Huntress, who is a niche character in DC, and Oracle.
You know, if they'd have pitched this as a series about Batgirl and her friends, they probably
would have had a lot more money.
They'd probably have just been given a full season straight off, and then maybe got cancelled at the end if it had turned out the same. But to try and pitch to a TV audience because don't forget, when you're making a TV show based on a comic book property, you've not just got to think about appealing to comic book audience. You've got to attract a general casual audience as well. Otherwise, you'll sink.
Which is why I can like forgive things like this is why Huntress is very much just a Matrix character.
Yeah, I mean the other thing as well is
Jessica Alba in Dark Angel, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Yes, she totally is. But I mean, the other thing you've got though is the bad guy is Harley Quinn, who back in 2002 was basically Joker's sidekick, Joker's henchman or henchwoman. That's all she was. She didn't have any of the kind of popularity that
She didn't
has
have her
now.
own title in the comics.
No, exactly.
She was just a sidekick in the cartoons, wasn't she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. So having Harley Quinn as the bad guy in this, I think, was also a detriment to it.
Well, I don't know, because I think Mia Sarah plays it.
She plays
Quite-
it. Well, she
plays it well.
Don't get me wrong.
And I
was one
think
of the- she
again,
was one of
this
the
is-
high points of this.
This is
for me.
another positive where I think some elements of Birds of Prey were possibly ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Mia
They've
Sarah
done
at least
with-
seems like she's having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've basically done with Harley in Birds of Prey what Gotham would successfully do over 5 seasons with lots of other more recognisable inhabitants of Gotham.
Yeah, I agree. It was ahead of its time in how it showed Harley, and I thought that Mia Sarah was one of the high points of the series.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the problem with Harley Quinn is because she started in a cartoon rather than a comic. There's a much more like defined idea of this is what this character looks like, this is what they sound like, this is how they act.
Exactly, and so
And it very much wasn't that.
yeah, and even with the cartoon though, Harley Quinn is still or was still at that point a niche character. So you had a show filled with niche characters.
And that was certainly true with the villain of the week.
Yeah.
I mean,
such great.
Slick's not going to get a spin-off comic anytime soon, is he?
Yeah.
Slick, the man who can turn into
A
what to
pool
say
of water. Or
water.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna even go into how suggestive it was when he was when he captured Reese. That was just like, and it just looks like Reese is foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the CGI water looks like quite viscous in a way that's
that's why I said I wasn't going to go into it.
and look like something from a video game rather than an effect that was done for television.
And then there was Clayface.
I mean, well, episode 3 is Detective Another Man.
Oh yeah, Detective
John Shepard from Stargate Atlantis.
Yes.
I'll take your word for it.
Yes, he was.
It was one of those episodes where it was bugging me. What do I know him from? No, I know it. He's a hero in whatever it is I know him from. Oh, it's that guy. And I think that was another drawback for Birds of Prey. It was that level of guest star.
Yeah. Although I did like him in it because it really showed me the difference between like the main cast, who I think are all actually like quite good actresses. They're just maybe not being given a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Versus him, who is just not very good.
I think that's why his role in Stargate Atlantis is a lot better, because they don't expect him to act; they just expect him to say words. And
he's an action hero.
Yeah,
type
basically, he is.
Whereas his character in Birds of Prey, in the hands of a more accomplished actor, is a very sort of conflicted kind of character. There's a struggle
because
to be had.
He is basically he is a metahuman who, being in the presence of other metahumans, like gives him like excruciating migraines. So he's trying to just kill them all.
Yeah.
Just so like he can stop taking aspirin all the time.
Yeah, but in Stargate Atlantis, his job is shout at people and shoot a gun.
Yeah. Oh, also he can use other people's powers against them.
Yeah.
And my favourite bit was when like he tossed a fireball at the fireball guy and he died like a Mortal Kombat animation. Just like, and then just kind of disappear.
I just realised when you said that he basically was headachy Peter Petrelli, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was. No wonder I hated him so much. Also, do you know what that episode made me realise? If Oracle's got all these gadgets like special homing throwing stars, why does she not give any to Huntress?
Yeah, that was one of my main issues with this, was that Oracle has all of these devices and stuff like that, and she's working on a cybernetic implant for her spine. And if she's got that level of technology, surely give some to the person who's out in the field instead of just a little earpiece that cuts out at every opportune moment.
Yeah, especially when one of the lines is literally,
But
he can do everything I can do, how can I beat him?
I think
Entire armory full of advanced weapons.
Exactly.
I think I know the true reason behind Birds of Prey's cancellation. It wasn't the falling ratings. It wasn't the continued cost of creating an entire city every week in CGI. I think it was the cost of unused tea bags from Alfred's incessant tea-making habit. I mean, every time you see him, he's stirring a cuppa.
But how else will you know he's British?
Well, for me, the accent gave it away.
If this is an American show, then, though, so people, might get confused, think he's Australian.
Also, what's he doing at the manor? In the bits where he's not at the clock tower? I mean, there's no one living there. He mentions that on several occasions.
No, he's basically dusting the Batcave and telling Batman what his daughter's doing.
No.
Well, no, because Batman's not on the scene. Batman's gone
but
away.
Alfred apparently tells Batman everything that's going on.
So the opening narration to every episode. Or if
My
that's just
name is Alfred Pennyworth.
What if that's just Alfred walking around the manor just mumbling to himself?
Or is it like, you remember the old Star Trek where it begins with the captain's log?
It's part of Alfred's therapy. I keep forgetting who I am, Doctor. Right, every morning get up and say, my name is Alfred Pennyworth.
Oh, God, has he been seeing Harlan Quinzel as well?
Oh, and I keep thinking...
Dr. Quinzel, every time I look in the mirror, I feel like I'm a different man to who I was. Well, yeah, because you're not Michael Gough anymore.
And I keep thinking I'm 3 crime-fighting female vigilantes. Right, just remind yourself that this is their story, not yours. Right. My name is Alfred Pennyworth. And this is their story.
See, now I'm quite disappointed that in the final episode... Well, I assume this didn't happen in the final episode, that Alfred didn't just dress up in, like, Huntress's tight leathers and kick some butt.
No, that was in the spin-off series, Birds of Prey, Behind Closed Doors.
Is that awesome?
What happens in the manor stays in the manor.
Yeah. Oh, is that awesome?
Bonus.
Oh, does he walk in the Batcave and say, time for another Brucey bonus?
Is that also the series where we just see Huntress cutting all the random holes out of all her shirts? Because her clothes do not make sense.
No.
Like, I think in one episode there was like a T-shirt with tassels.
Yeah.
I mean, the costuming was just kind of... Right, okay, so you're a crime-fighting superhero. Where's your mask? Where's the mask? Secret identity. What happened to the whole idea of a secret identity?
Well, in fairness, she doesn't wear the long black coat when she's not being Huntress.
Exactly.
Obviously, no one is going to mistake, Helena Kyle, mild-mannered bartender with hair that's kind of just straight down, to Huntress, crime-fighting vigilante with hair that kind of points up a bit at the ends.
Yeah. I mean, it's Clark Kent levels of secret identity, isn't it?
I think that's a massive disrespect to Clark Kent.
But I mean...
At least he, puts some glasses on.
I mean, the thing is that...
And Helena Kyle dresses in black.
Both her parents are famous for wearing masks.
Well, it's the right of every child to rebel. Look at Dinah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dinah.
Well done on the segue. I applaud that.
So Dinah is the third member of the Birds of Prey. She's based on the character of Black Canary from the comics.
Is she?
Well,
she has the same first name as Black Canary.
Yeah, but she doesn't have Black Canary's canary cry.
Yeah, the thing that makes it make sense why she's related to a canary, the bird that's singing like a canary.
Yeah, but she does have telepathic powers
And telekinetic.
Yeah,
She's basically Telewoman.
She's Jean Grey.
I feel like she starts off, she can like see the future, then she can read people's minds, then sometimes she's also a bit telekinetic.
Like I said, Jean Grey.
She's a completely different character to Black Canary.
Yeah.
Which I guess is why, because I'd looked at it in a later episode, like it turns out her mum is actually Black Canary.
That's right, yeah.
Which I believe, looking some things up, that was actually a retcon they did. Like originally the idea was just going to be, okay, no, Dinah is just our version of Black Canary.
Yeah.
But people got a bit like shirty that this is a different character.
Yeah.
So they just went, okay, no, what if she's just Black Canary's daughter? Which is also a thing that Black Canary in the comics is, which makes things more confusing.
Yes.
And
Sometimes continuity point 2.0. So Black Canary is a superhero from the 1940s.
Yeah.
Her daughter is Black Canary in the vaguely modern era. Unless sometimes Black Canary from the 1940s is also Black Canary in the modern day, but with her brain in the body of her comatose daughter, or there's just one Black Canary.
This is why we had a Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, This is the story of Dinah Laurel Drake Lance Redmond.
And didn't she also adopt the surname Quinn after her and Oliver Quinn got married?
Dinah Drake. Dinah Laurel Drake Lance Quinn Redmond, but not really. So Dinah Drake was the original Black Canary. She married a man named Kurt Lance. They had a daughter named Dinah Laurel Lance. And that's the one that got married to Green Arrow. Unless it's before Crisis on Infinite Earths, then it's just the original Black Canary.
so anyway, Dinah in Birds of Prey has run away from small town
Missouri?
Indiana.
Minnesota. I
Name
think
a
it's one
US
of the.
state with small towns.
I think it's one of the ones with an M.
So she's on the run. She's been in foster care. Her mum has deserted her for most of her life.
Because apparently this is the rationale behind it was just amazing. I abandoned you because you weren't a metahuman,
But she is, I think.
and now I want
to be
stuff
fair,
to do with
to
you.
her, it is quite difficult to tell.
That's not really a good message you're sending there. You abandoned your daughter because she wasn't special, and so you basically left her with a bunch of strangers in the care system, and you went off to do other things, and you said it was for her safety because she wasn't special.
Basically, the message of Birds of Prey is that love is entirely conditional and you have to earn Mummy's love.
Yeah. And to be fair, that's true with Reese and Helena's relationship.
Yeah?
They're always,
Yeah. But as soon as Black Canary finds out that Dinah is a metahuman, she wants to be her mum again.
Anyway. But yeah, so Dinah's plot line basically goes through being sulky teenager, and generally speaking, she's used as an object lesson for Barbara to say to Helena, who was adopted by Barbara many years previously, look, you see, this is what you were like, and look how you turned out. Be nice.
Yeah.
It's almost like that little moral bit at the end of He-Man episodes, where Prince Adam would stand up and say, today Orko learned how to be friends with other people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I noticed, is that the therapy sessions between Huntress and Harley Quinn do mostly just seem to be Harley telling Huntress what today's moral message is going to be.
Yes.
Gee, Huntress, you don't trust people. Maybe you should trust people more. Maybe if you had some kind of adventure that involved you having to put your trust in your new teammate Dinah, it would help you be more accepting of people. Wink.
And I think this is where we see the loss of budget. Yeah. If Alfred had wasted a few less tea bags, we might have been able to pay an extra scriptwriter to just make it a little less clunky.
You say that, but I'm also thinking, is Harley Quinn actually a really great psychiatrist?
Yes.
Like, is she just organising all these elaborate criminal plots to help Helena learn important lessons?
See,
with helping Mr. J just a side benefit.
The bizarre thing is, with the current Harley, and this comes back to what we were saying about the Birds of Prey version of Harley being ahead of its time, the current version of Harley does kind of do stuff like that. I mean, there was Injustice where where they've captured Lobo and she starts psychoanalyzing him in order to get him to help them.
So that's Birds of Prey. Oh, wait. Before we end, I would like to mention my favourite bit of Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Which is the accidentally hilarious scene of when Dinah, after being on a bus with Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, just casual Aaron Paul cameo, arrives in New Gotham City, steps out from the bus station, says, "Yes, this will be a new start. Things are going to work out fine." And then a guy immediately gets hit by a truck. And I think it's supposed to be dramatic, but it's just such a well-timed joke.
See, my favourite bit was, because I know you didn't watch till the end, but my favourite bit was the final fight scene between Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey in the clock tower after all is said and done. And then you have Barbara Gordon, who, spoilers for people by this point, if you haven't realised we do spoilers.
Also, this series is from 2002.
Yes,
So
exactly.
if you haven't watched it, it's either because you've got impeccable taste or you weren't born then.
Yes. So anyway, Barbara by this point has, well, she's got a working version of her cybernetic implant, which allows her to stand up and kick people in the face.
Yes.
And then just in the middle of the fight, she does this jump across the floor. I'm like, you're not a metahuman. You've just got the cybernetic implant. But she jumps from the ground floor to the first floor balcony. And I'm like, okay, I can understand Huntress doing that, but when did cybernetic implants give you like super strength and the ability to jump like that?
I'll give you the $6 million man.
Also, I will give you Huntress with her like highly advanced cat powers. Still, like, have a very tough time fighting a dude who's just a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that does happen quite a bit.
I mean, it was very much like Angel, who is a vampire with all of the powers of a vampire in Angel, but he still gets punched in the face by just some random bloke in the street.
Yep.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that's probably about us for this segment. Before we stop, though, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, at the moment, I have a list of 4 things, 3 of them being stuff we've covered this year, and 1 of them being a different thing. This is our official Comic Movie Club ranking of things what we have watched. Number 1, Watchmen. Below that, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Below that, Titan Season 1. Right down at the bottom, by which I mean like 4th place. But as the list gets longer, it's going to be more the bottom.
Are we just doing it for this year, or is this all-time list?
Also, we covered Titan Season 2.
And we covered The Boys.
That's what I was about to say, is that Titan Season 2 is the bottom of the list. And God, I didn't have time to go through every single episode we've ever done and rank things. Maybe the list gets longer. Who knows?
The list will get longer, but
Birds of Prey, where go?
I think for its time, I think we've got to be fair.
We've got to be fair. I think it's not the worst
Yeah,
genre TV show I've ever seen.
I would rank it higher than Titan Season 2.
Yeah, but not
Easily.
as high as Titan Season 1.
Yeah.
See, I'll admit, coming into this, I was going to say, no Birds of Prey. It goes right at the bottom. It's objectively the worst thing we've seen so
We're
far.
actually going to build a whole other list for it to go at the bottom
Yeah.
of.
But I feel like talking about it, yeah, there were bits I enjoyed. Whereas Titan Season 2 was just such a miserable experience start to finish.
This is the thing. I mean, when you look at it objectively, Birds of Prey was a product of its time. It was a victim of all of that as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Titan Season 2 has no excuse.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to put Birds of Prey.
And also the groundwork that it's laid for
Yeah.
what we
That's
are
true.
now enjoying.
Yeah, I'm happy to make that our new number 4, Titan Season 2, number 5.
I mean, if Birds of Prey had a reboot now, if they did a new version of Birds of Prey, I'm sure that it would be a much more
Especially
quality
if
show.
it was looked after by someone like Greg Berlanti, who's
Yeah.
done such a cracking job with the other
Yeah,
franchises.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it would have a lot more of the gritty drama that you want from Birds of Prey. It would have a lot more of a tie-in with current comic books, Harley Quinn as an enemy, as the main villain, would actually make more sense now.
And GCPD might look like it wasn't built on an Amiga 500.
It's like the big neon sign it has out front as well.
See, when I looked at it, my first thought was Raccoon City in Resident Evil 2. I just kept expecting swarms of zombies to appear from somewhere.
Is there any way we could put in just like a random Red Hot Chili Peppers song just to end this segment?
Talk to the copyright police.
Anyway, we will be back after a short break to talk about what we've been reading.
My name's Quentin Flynn. I'm here on The Geek Show. Why? Because I play Raiden in the Metal Gear series. I am lightning, the rain transformed, and I have been transformed by hanging out on this show. So tune in and turn on. You'll love it. The Geek Show. It rocks.
There really is nothing like a first leather-bound edition of a classic Victorian podcast. Hello, we're Literally Loitering from The Geek Show, and we cover literally all types of books, from hardbacks to paperbacks to sometimes the words within them. If any of these things interest you, why not pop in and give us a visit on Literally Loitering.
And welcome back to the show. Now we're going to be talking about what we've been reading. So, Mick, do you want to kick things off?
Okay, so this is The Wolf of Baghdad, and in a break with tradition, this is not so much what I've been reading as what I've been looking at. The Wolf of Baghdad by Carol Isaacs, also known as The Surreal McCoy, is a memoir of a homeland that she's never visited.
What?
Do I have to read that out again? It's a memoir of a homeland that she's never visited. Let me explain.
No.
Please do.
Yeah.
So, Carol Isaacs is a descendant of Iraqi Jews who were displaced.
Okay.
And so there are generations of them who've either suffered being evacuated out of Baghdad at various points.
Yeah.
And they've settled in the UK and other places, set up businesses, etc., etc., etc. And some of them are first or second generation UK-born Iraqi Jews who have had stories told to them about life back in Baghdad. And it's told entirely in picture format. And it starts off with, and it's sort of autobiographical. And it's just almost like a sort of graphic novel dreamscape that's kicked off. It's triggered by hearing some Persian music being played. And then we go through panel after panel of naively but evocatively drawn panels of people from this ethnic subculture of Iraqi Jews going through normal life and finding books, finding photographs. And the only kind of dialogue element comes from little snippets of memoirs that go with those things. And as you go through, there's domestic scenes of cooking, there's domestic scenes of going to just everyday stuff like going to the market, suffering loss, suffering joy, all those kind of things. And then you've got these little sort of ghost figures appear in some of the panels to evoke people that have passed on and stuff like that. And you've got these little nuggets, building blocks that build up this story of what life is like for the displaced, for what life is like for the people who stayed behind, etc., etc., etc. And it's just such a lovely pictorial representation of a sort of flight of fantasy that shows that feeling you have when, even if you are separated from where you grew up, even if you've never actually been to where your family grew up or were based, because you're separated by distance and time, you can still feel homesick and nostalgic for something you've never experienced. A bit like Andrew did when we said we were going to do Birds of Prey from 2002.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm cured of that feeling now.
But yeah, it's beautifully It's beautifully evocative, and it's, like I say, there's no reading to be done. You're just drawn into these panels of life for a very particular subset of society. And it's moving without loads of exposition and dialogue and trauma being described to you in each panel. So,
I mean, the way you're describing it, you know, when you have those exhibitions of a particular photographer's work, and you go in and you just basically walk through looking at the pictures, but there's a story behind those pictures.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
All right, excellent.
I see. So it's like kind of having a series of pictures, and they tell a story in like a sequential way, like some kind of book of images.
Almost like a graphic novel.
Yeah, that's if such a thing were to exist.
But crucially, this only uses the images, as opposed to your trashy Spider-Man that I see in front of you, which has probably got some words and that in it as well. And I bet it hasn't got a review blurb from Sandy Toksvig.
I mean, you're definitely right about that.
What?
Yeah, this has got review blurb from the one, the only Sandy Toksvig. And she's absolutely bang on with it. This isn't a book that you read. It's one where you actually fall inside the story.
Spider-Man jumps off a building. That's a bit like falling, isn't it?
Probably with an or a thwip.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah.
Whip, yep.
Yeah, none of that. You don't need that in The Wolf of Baghdad.
I mean, I feel like I can't really disagree with your poignant artsy book.
In fact, this is so outside our normal ballpark, we should have reserved it for literally loitering. Because it's proper art,
I like that we act like Literary Loitering is the high-class show that we do.
Well, this is like proper art, which is what Literary Loitering pretends to look at.
No, we do look at proper art.
Yeah.
And then we
Poke fun at it.
and then we get a stick and start poking it to see if it's still alive.
And then kind of like scribble over it with some crayons.
Exactly.
So, there you go. That's The Wolf of Baghdad. I say written and drawn by Carol Isaacs, a.k.a. the Surreal McCoy.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's nice to have some like bit more serious, proper art that shows that, you know, graphic novels are more than just your superhero punchy stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spider-Man.
And thanks to Turnaround for putting a bit of culture in our life.
So, Spider-Man, then.
Yep, Spider-Man. I have been reading Spider-Man Life Story, which is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Mark Bagley and inks by John Dell and Andrew Hennessy, colours by Frank Diamata, and letters by Astart Design.
Wasn't this one of the ones that you actually wanted to read?
Yeah, I was very interested in this. This is basically a Marvel miniseries that they've done where it is 6 issues, I think. Yeah, 6 issues. The idea being each one is set in a different decade. And it's basically what if Spider-Man aged, like, in real time.
So you got Old Man Spider-Man in this?
Yeah, but, like, Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider as a teenager in the 1960s. And this follows his life up until, the year 2019.
Okay, that's an interesting take because Spider-Man, Peter Parker's one, though, like many superhero characters, they're stuck in a state of arrested development, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think especially it's interesting with Spider-Man because he did have a period where he did age quite a bit. Like, he went from a teenager to a guy, like, I think he's canonically in his late 20s now. And then he's been stuck there for, like, decades.
Well, I mean, there was that period with where he got married and he had a daughter and...
Yeah, well, I think the actual... Him having a daughter was like... That was an alternate universe.
Yeah.
And they just kind of said to do away with that in the main continuity. But no, in this, like... Starts off, it's the year 1966. Peter Parker has been Spider-Man for about 4 years. I think the explicit idea that Chip Zdarsky said is that all the early Stan Lee and Steve Ditko stuff, that still happened in this continuity.
Yeah.
So this is picking up, Peter Parker. He's in college. It's your classic. He wants to be Spider-Man, but he also wants to hang out with Gwen Stacy, and he's trying to be less of a jerk to Flash Thompson, but he just can't, balance his work life. But this one actually throws in an interesting wrinkle, because apart from just being Spider-Man aging in real time, it's also actually tying in more to the events of that decade.
Okay.
So a lot of it is him trying to think does he have a responsibility to fight in the Vietnam War?
Now, that's an interesting take.
It is, because it's if great power comes with a great responsibility, surely the greatest responsibility is to out himself, sign up for the army, go do Spider-Man stuff in Vietnam. Because also a big difference between this and the normal comics is that Captain America and Iron Man both go over to Vietnam. Especially, it's interesting. It's almost what if Spider-Man did Watchmen.
Okay, yeah.
So it starts off like that. It adapts pretty straightly one of the earlier Spider-Man stories where the Green Goblin first finds out his identity.
Yeah.
So it ends with him fighting Norman, beating him. Norman gets amnesia. But again, I think a big difference between that and the original comics is in the original one, Spider-Man just said, oh, Norman, he's got amnesia. He doesn't remember Spider-Man. Everything's fine now. But in this, he's doing that when he suddenly realizes, no, what am I doing? He's still, the Green Goblin. I should ring the police, have him arrested. And he does. And I feel like that's kind of the big main sticking point of this is where this universe starts to diverge.
Yeah.
So issue 2 picks up, it is now the mid-70s. Peter has graduated. He is working for Reed Richards.
Okay.
Which makes sense. Massive big change. He is now married to Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, actually, that works then, because if he had the police arrest the Green Goblin, then Green Goblin never kills Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, exactly, because they find the Goblin lab, they lock Norman Osborn up, and he's just stuck in prison.
Yeah.
For the next few decades.
Yeah, which means Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man can develop the relationship, get married, have a family.
Well, first two.
Yeah.
The relationship between Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, maybe it does not end that well.
Okay.
Especially if we, say, flash forward to the 1980s. Spider-Man is now married to Mary Jane Watson instead.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil what happens, because it is really... Ooh, and shit. And I think an interesting thing about the one set in the 80s is basically it's Spider-Man finds the Venom symbiote, like in the normal comics.
Yeah.
But now he is a man who's pushing 40.
Yeah.
And there's this whole new element of, okay, this suit is dangerous, but maybe actually I need it. Because, I'm starting to get a bit old, starting to slow down a bit.
Yeah.
This can help me keep going. All I need to do is kind of learn how to control it. Meanwhile, the world around him is basically falling apart. An interesting twist on the Vietnam War thing is because American superheroes get involved, it ends up dragging out for even longer.
Okay.
Because because it's the idea of, well, no, we've got superheroes on our side. We can definitely win this. So America just refused to give up for a few extra years. And that ends up spiraling out into a full-on World War III with Russia. There's a really great bit where basically, so Spider-Man goes off to do the whole Secret Wars thing.
Okay.
Where they go off, they meet the Beyonder, they fight on an alien planet.
Yeah.
Comes back, it's 3 months later, finds that Russia have actually launched a nuke at America, and the Vision was able to divert it away from New York. But it still hits some small town in, I think, Minnesota or something.
Yeah.
And now the Vision's just stood there, not moving, completely intangible, either because the nuke fried his circuits, or he's just that traumatized from the horror of it all. And it's just this silent, intangible statue.
Wow.
It is. It's just the visual is really. Mark Packley does a really good job on this as well. And yeah, from there, we get more of Peter Parker's life, seeing... It's quite a heavy story. It really goes into this idea that Spider-Man kind of ruins Peter Parker's life a bit.
Do you know what it sounds like? Do you remember, was it the Starman comic that we read? About how he got older and how he came back to Earth. But by the time he came back to Earth...
Oh, yeah, it's Dr. Star?
Dr. Star, that's it.
Yeah, because it's like the Black Hammer one that is basically just a Starman comic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like that. It's kind of this idea that eventually you'll find yourself an old man and kind of maybe a lot of your life has passed you by.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's interesting that it like spins off a bunch of things, reinterprets a lot of like Marvel events. So especially like with the Civil War. Because then this Tony Stark is just like a straight up almost a supervillain. Because he's basically, it's very much, this is Tony Stark from the 1960s.
Yeah.
Who is a glorified arms dealer versus Captain America, like the super idealistic patriot.
Yep.
And yeah, it's really cool. I think it's not so much a complaint as just me being maybe a bit greedy. Is I kind of wish it was more. Like, I wish we had, like, maybe instead of an issue, like, maybe a whole mini-series for each decade. Because I guess there maybe are some plot points. Well, like, the whole idea of, like, Spider-Man and Mary Jane getting together. As a Spider-Man fan, I don't necessarily need to see that because I know how it goes.
Yeah.
But it might be nice if, like, we had an extra issue where we could have seen that happen.
Yeah.
But, but because of the format, we're going to have to jump straight to they are now married and Mary Jane is having twins.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I will say the ending might be like one of my all-time favourite Spider-Man things.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I want to read this.
And you definitely should.
This sounds like the kind of thing that I've been wanting from superhero comics, where they actually have a narrative that and they have progression, they have the character developing and aging and things like that. Stuff that I would see in manga, that I've wanted people to start using more in comics.
Yeah, I guess it's the advantage of having something where like a whole series is by the same person from like start to finish, so you can actually have that progression.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the Savage Dragon, for example, because it's
all Eric Larson.
Yeah, all the way through, and so there's all that progression, there's all that character development that actually makes sense and it all fits.
Yeah, and I also think it's really good that they had like the same artist for all 6 issues.
Yeah,
because like I feel like one of the ideas I had originally was, but what if they got different artists to do it like in the style of comics from that era? But I think it does work better having it be Mark Bagley, so it does feel like one continuous thing.
Yeah,
and also it's cool that they chose him because I guess he's technically like the most prolific Spider-Man artist. Because he did pretty much all of Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Excellent.
Also, Rob, I will just leave you with 2 words.
Oh?
Uncle Otto.
Seriously?
Uncle Otto.
Seriously?
He's got 8 arms and they're all for loving.
So that actually went ahead in this?
Yeah, the idea in this is that, like, Otto Octavius genuinely reformed and married Aunt May.
Because there was that whole bit where they almost got married.
Yeah, as part of some weird supervillain plot.
Yeah, but Otto actually does have genuine feelings for May Parker.
Yep.
Wow. That makes me want to read this even more because at least it didn't do that whole weird Superior Spider-Man bit. We're not going to go into that. We've already mentioned it before.
Yeah, let's just move on to your thing.
Move on to a classic reborn.
It's like seeing my son again.
It's Death's Head. Death's Head in Clone Drive, which is...
I have only one thing to say about this.
What?
Yes.
See, you know Death's Head, obviously. This is written by Tini Howard with art by Kay Zama and colours by Felipe Sobrero and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. Now, this collects Death's Head 2019 numbers 1 to 4, and it also has the classic Death's Head number 1 from 1988.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Now, do you remember how Death's Head first appeared?
Do I remember the fact that Death's Head is a character from the Transformers from the universe who got taken out of that universe by the Doctor from Doctor Who, shrunk down to regular size and put in the main Marvel universe.
Yep.
But in, like, the future, yes, I do.
See, this is the thing. I love the fact that is actually his origin. And Death's Head is one of those... See, Death's Head is kind of mercenary, come bounty hunter, come kind of odd job man
But what? I'm gonna have to call you up on that. He's not a bounty hunter. Have you know he's a freelance peacekeeping agent?
Which is a bounty hunter.
Don't let him hear you say
No,
that.
I know. You just don't want to say that to Death's Head. But anyway, this is a story of Death's Head, and he's basically working for Yondu, right? And Yondu is doing his thing, but Yondu has put out a hit on Death's Head, a wanted poster for Death's Head. And the reason why he's done it is because he's been helping Death's Head upgrade himself and upgrade himself and upgrade himself all this time. And all of those upgrades cost money. And Death's Head has slowly not been keeping up his side of the bargain by bringing in the wanted criminals and, well, I say criminals, but the wanted people, whereas others have been. So Yondu feels like he's getting fleeced. So
I mean, because he very much is.
yeah, so Death's Head has this bounty on him and ends up, well, in this, he basically wakes up on the PA system of a punk band on Earth.
Yeah, I think he's been repurposed into an amp.
Yes. And so he's trying to figure out what's going on, and his memory system is loading. And he finds out that Yondu is responsible for him being there, because Yondu basically put him in the trash chute because of Yondu's cybernetic fearmongers, I think they're called. So anyway, appearing in this particular issue, right? And they are just sort of happening to help the punk band by being stagehands and stuff like that, are Hulkling and Hulkling's boyfriend, the Wiccan.
Also, I'm not sure if they're like helping or if they're just there like for the concert.
They're kind of there for the concert and helping the guys by lugging PAs and stuff like that. But anyway, the two of them are there at the concert, and for people who aren't familiar, the Wiccan is the son of a witch.
A Scarlet Witch, to be precise.
Yes.
Which, yeah, well, sort of.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, that's an interesting story for another time.
Yeah. Hulkling, on the other hand, is a Kree-Skrull hybrid,
Yep.
which is a combination that is a bit odd because it doesn't really exist except for Hulkling.
Yeah. Specifically, he is the son of Captain Marvel, I think.
Yeah. Also going by the name of Prince Doric the Eighth.
Well, actually, technically, I think he's King Dark the Eighth.
Now he is.
Yeah,
But
he is
in this-
king of space.
Yeah. But anyway, in this, Wiccan keeps trying to reform the Young Avengers. That's his goal.
Yeah, just wants to get the gang back together.
Yes, he wants to get the gang back together. And so they, Death's Head has accidentally been activated, and now he's got, now he thinks that Wiccan and Hulkling are responsible for him being on Earth and not knowing what's going on because, even though he knows Yondu was the one who dumped him in the trash chute, he thinks that they're the ones responsible. So he's trying to find out what's going on, only to find out that Wiccan has been storing the body of another Death's Head. But this one is a Death's Head with the cybernetic hair over one eye.
That's how you know he's more advanced.
Yeah, this is teenage Death's Head, who is a little bit emo, I suppose.
I'd say he's a little bit emo.
Yeah. So anyway, this version of Death's Head, or Death's Head version 5...
Or V.
Yeah, or V, as we find out, is the product of Dr. Evelyn Necker, who is not the Evelyn Necker from Death's Head's version of events, but is the Evelyn Necker from this particular reality, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, because I think Death's Head is technically from an alternate reality now. It's like an alternate. Basically, there's like a very thin but not overly distinct differentiation between alternate reality and possible future.
Yes. So anyway, Evelyn Necker has made a bunch of Death's Heads because she likes the robot fighting.
I mean, very relatable villain goals.
That's basically her driving force. She loves robot on robot action. And the hotter, the better. And Death's Head was one of the best at that, so she's got a big deal about Death's Head, and she wants to make a better version of Death's Head but not realizing that this version of Death's Head has had all sorts of futuristic outer space upgrades. I love the way this progresses. I particularly love Wiccan's powers because his powers involve him repeating the same words over and over again until it happens.
Yeah, but basically like casting spells by just making wishes.
Exactly. It's like, get us out of here, get us out of here, get us out of here. When he tried to trap Death's Head with some pool chairs, like pool chair prison, pool chair prison, pool chair prison, pool chair prison.
Just love the idea of just him running around like arms flailing, yelling things like that.
Exactly. And that's why I love the idea of Wiccan. Hulkling is just as fun because, he can grow wings and do all sorts of other things, but he's basically just a big, strong guy who's a bit clueless about stuff.
He is. I like him, though.
And I think V kind of steals the show on this because even though Kate Bishop turns up and Death's Head's going, "You're not Hawkeye," she shoots him in the foot. He goes, "I dare you to say that again." But even though she shows up, V still kind of steals the show because it's basically Death's Head as if Death's Head was a 90s surfer dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically Death's Head, idiot younger brother.
Yeah. Do you remember that Brendan Fraser film, California Man? Where Brendan Fraser is a caveman trapped in ice for however many thousands of years.
Right, is this revenge for all those random Marvel alien races I hit you with?
Yes, it is.
You have to play, has Rob just made up a Brendan Fraser film?
Yes. So anyway, it's a bit like how that goes. You'd remember it because it's got Pauly Shore in it.
I think I have, mostly through choice, never seen a film with Pauly Shore in it.
This ends up really nicely with Death's Head kind of getting his revenge on Yondu by turning up with all these upgrades, and Yondu's going, "Where do you get those from?" Because Death's Head has made a deal, and it's a really good deal. It basically helps him and helps the other person at the same time, and they're both having a whale of a time of things, or they will do in the future. But then it also has issue 1 of Death's Head. Now, issue 1 of Death's Head is a lot of fun and fits totally with the new version of Death's Head. Because you read issue 1, you're like, yeah, that's so Death's Head. And then you read this, the first 4 issues of the 2019 version, you're like, it's as if he never went away.
Yeah. Also, that is my favourite, early 2000s Disney Channel TV kids program. That's so Death's Head.
Yes. But yeah, Death's Head, Clone Drive, if you're a fan of Death's Head. In fact, if you're a fan of Marvel doing all of these strange and wonderful and slightly wacky comics, which basically play on just how ridiculous the whole superhero genre is, then this is one of those that fits into that.
Yeah, it is just such a fun, wild ride.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge Death's Head fan. I own literally, I say literally every issue. There's 17 issues.
There's not enough.
No, there's not a lot.
There's not enough. This is one of those ones that if you put it on a shelf next to the likes of the early Gwenpool stuff, some of the Howard the Duck stuff and Next Wave and things like that, it would fit in with that.
Death's Head is basically the precursor to Next Wave and Gwenpool. Probably even to a lot of the Deadpool stuff as well.
Yeah. It was the first issue from 1988. It was highlighting just how much humour could be had, especially with Death's Head, because his circuits are slightly broken, and his circuits get fixed in this issue just from repeated blows to the head.
Yes.
Which is a clear play on the whole idea of hit it until it starts working again.
Yeah, I do just love having it's just got a really wry sense of humour to it.
I love the whole idea of Death's Head going, "I bring people, you give money." Yes?
Yeah, also I love that he's pretty much one of the first characters to do the whole mugging to camera thing.
Yeah. Well,
it's just this is why I never work with animals. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. The cover of the first issue is literally Death's Head mugging to camera.
Yes, it is the buy this comic and stay healthy, yes.
So yeah, I love Death's Head.
The cool thing about Death's Head is, to me, he feels more like, say, a 2000 AD character than a Marvel character.
Yes, he is. He's a lot like the ABC Warriors.
Yeah, and not just in the sense that he is a big robot man.
Yeah.
That same kind of I'd say wacky darkness.
Yeah, that black humour that they've got where something happens and they'll just make a comment and like, oh, it's just like, it just gets you and you just start laughing. Even though you kind of feel embarrassed about laughing because it's just such cutting humour.
Yeah. God of Death's Head.
Yes. On that note.
Yeah, I think that's us done.
Yeah, so if you want to catch any of our other episodes, you'll find them on our website, or you can find them on whichever podcast provider you're using. And if you are listening to us on a podcast provider of your choice, then leave us a rating, leave us a review. It does help us with exposure, and the feedback does help us improve. Indeed it does. Yes. We have big plans going forward because we're going to be starting a sister show or a brother show to 4Panel.
I guess more like Xenomorph that has been gestating within the stomach of 4Panel and is now getting ready to burst out.
Yes. So look out for that coming soon to a podcast player near you where we'll be talking about comic book TV shows and movies.
In essence, if you like the comic movie club segments of 4Panel, we're doing that, but as its own podcast.
Yes. But until then, I've been Rob.
I've been Andrew.
And I've been Mick.
And we will see you all later.
Thanks for listening.
Goodbye now.